I am going to invite Michelle to join me. If you would like to unmute yourself, and I
Morning.
would. Good morning, Michelle. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Good morning,
Good.
everybody.
Um, I always like getting our colleagues from Portsmouth over there. I have a lot of history in Portsmouth. I worked on the island for 10 years and rode around there. And actually, my commute for the first few years I did there were along the east-west corridor before it was such a thing. So I've got skin in this game. So I am really excited about this. We are deeply indebted to Michelle, who is deputising for someone else at short notice who had to pull out. But I will stop talking. Michelle, if you would like to share your screen, I will turn my camera off and mute myself. The floor is all yours.
Thank you. Morning, everybody. My name is Michelle Love. I'm the Safer Travel Manager at Portsmouth City Council. So Andy, who I'm deputising for, is within my team. So hopefully I should be able to answer questions. If not, then obviously I will pass them on to my colleagues within the organisation. Okay, so morning everybody. I'm here to present about the East-West Active Travel Corridor Phase 2. So Phase 2 obviously denotes that there was a Phase 1. So we are into the second phase of this. That's a very nice picture of a cargo bike there. So the East-West Active Travel Corridor originally came about in 2018. And funding was given through the local transport plan allocation to create a corridor of active travel, primarily between what we would term as our student quarter, where there's obviously a large number of high-density HMOs, and also the university sports buildings out at Langston, to come through the centre of the island and out to where the sort of main conurbation of the university buildings are. The point being that obviously that would encourage predominantly students from the university, but also everyone within the city to be able to access along that route. So if you can see my cursor, the buildings are out at Langston, which is right on the east. The bit that we're talking about is highlighted in yellow. And then hopefully we intend to progress the scheme until it reaches the hard interchange, which is right on the west of the island, where there is obviously links to the Isle of Wight, links to Gosport and the train station and a bus interchange. So the bit that we're presenting on today is it's 500 metres long. It's part 2. And the construction cost is around about £400,000. So I'll just change. So this isn't actually identified as an LC whip route because it came up link in with a lot of employment, education and accessibility, and also complements our LC whip routes. So phase 1, which is highlighted in the yellow just along here to the right of your screen, that was funded by the council, but also worked in with part of the SEHRT walking and cycling schemes. So all of this is complete, and we're now focusing on this red oval here. So what are we doing? Well, for those of you who don't know Portsmouth, this is a sort of major. It's where the geographical separation between Portsmouth and Southsea happens. It's around Fratton train station, and it's bordered by major traffic carrying routes. So we have the first stage is actually that slide's a bit boring. Sorry, I'm just going to change that one. Right, here we go. So part 1, which is now complete, was to construct a new Tiger crossing on Victoria Road North, new carriageway transitions, a dedicated cycle track in order to link what we call our quieter routes. So those they're still on road because obviously Portsmouth being predominantly urban doesn't have a huge amount of room for off-road cycling facility. But we do have some roads that we would recommend to people that are less confident cyclists. That's not to say there's not still traffic on them. And obviously one of the focuses is to create a connected network. So dedicated cycle track to link people into the junctions. The building that you can see in the picture there is very well used. It's the mosque, the main mosque for the city. So we increase the footway space because there are obviously a lot of people gathering there for different services and community functions. We added in benches, bins and plantings to make the area just more usable, more serviceable. And there will also be a barrel bike and a Voi scooter racks going in there, so that people are obviously able to pick up different modes of transport of their choice and continue their journey onto the city centre. So that is the CAD, the highways design drawing to show the changes. And the next few slides. So this is what it used to look like. So you can see it was obviously uncontrolled crossing with tactile paving. And the road that it's on is a B-class road. So it's one of the main traffic carriers down from the north of the city down through the south of the city. And that's Victoria Road north and south, and will eventually take you to the seafront about a mile south down that road. So obviously very well used at all times of day and night. And this is what it looks like now. So construction started in October 23. There was obviously a bit of a break for the Christmas period, but this is what it looks like now, and it's looked like that for the last couple of weeks and is already very heavily used, particularly by, as I said, the students that come through from the large amount of student housing that is within Central Southsea to continue their journey onto the university buildings. This just shows, so obviously we have planted around the trees, we've created safer spaces for them, and just upgraded the paving and made it more level. This is the dedicated cycle track. So obviously before it was sort of informally marked with just cycle signs. That's now all been changed into a dedicated cycle lane in order to be able to pick up that tiger crossing. And again, you can see the lead-ins to the tiger crossing on the footway. So part 2. So if you imagine that you have crossed over on that new tiger crossing and you're heading in towards the city centre, this is the part that's currently being done. And this is predominantly work to create a shared space. So it will be segregated in the end, I believe. I will have to check on that though, but I would imagine it's LTM 120 compliant. So there will be an element of segregation for both cyclists and pedestrians. There will be some new planting and the space will be made wider. That road is a very wide road. So we do, in this instance, have some room to play with. So there will be widened hard standing. Oh yeah, segregated cycle track. An improved link with Bradford Road, and obviously new planting because some of the trees were not in the best of conditions. So we felt that it was better to remove them to create the greater space and plant some new ones in their place. So this is obviously ongoing construction. So that's what it did look like. That's what it now looks like. You can see that obviously the work is being carried out to create the additional space along the footway. And we hope to have that finished. If I just go back up to the program slide. Yes, so by the middle of February. Okay. And then finally, that's part 3. Just check, there is a part 4. So part 3. So this is a Copenhagen crossing. Transitions to the bus lane, carriageway, new segregated cycle lane. So again, this is an entire route. So we're continuing our journey from east to west towards the city centre and ultimately towards the hard interchange. Again, there'll be the introduction of segregation, new planting, and ongoing vivacity monitoring. So we've recently installed 8 vivacity sensors at key points around the area. I think 3 or 4 of them are on this route. For those of you who aren't familiar with vivacity, they offer the monitoring and counting, and so they can count pedestrians, cyclists, traffic, they can do origin, destination, turning, and all of that data can be uploaded into your own personal cloud for the authority, and then obviously analysed and used for potentially future funding bids, or to give an accurate, very accurate picture of how many people are using the route that we are installing. So this is part of that section, and obviously what it hopes to address is there are some behaviours that potentially we would like to see reduced. So obviously cyclists travelling in the wrong direction, potentially vehicles travelling in the wrong direction. So there will be improvements to ensure that there is a better route and that it is very clear who has the right of way through improved signage and things like that. And finally, we come to the Somers Town alleyway. So at the moment, this is, as you can see from the picture below, it's a fairly narrow pathway. It is shared use, but it's not compliant to anything. So it's obviously historic shared use. But it is very well used because there is no footpath alongside the carriageway at that point, because the carriageway is significantly lower to the houses. So there is just a steep bank. But what we do find is that people will try to walk alongside the carriageway, which obviously presents a risk, and is not the way that we would recommend that we would travel. So we are intending to upgrade this pathway to ensure that obviously there is sufficient room. It depends how far we can upgrade it as to whether it will be wholly segregated or it could be potentially shared. There is the removal of pinch points. There is the installation of CCTV and better lighting. So this will ensure that this is currently a well-used route, but actually becomes much more safer and much more accessible. And again, if there is the relocation, there is the planting of new trees and fencing, because some of it will have to be removed in order to be able to create that wider and reduce the pinch points. And that should be, according to Andy's plan, completed by the end of March. So we intend to get all this completed by the end of the financial year. And then the next stage is to continue the journey, literally. We are working with Portsmouth University at the moment in order to be able to understand how they would like to see the spaces around their buildings within the city centre, and how we would be able to help them improve that space outside those buildings to ensure accessibility for people. And obviously those improvements will then help everybody visiting the city centre and the Guildhall area. So that's it very briefly. Obviously, I am very happy to take questions. And yeah, I hope that you have enjoyed the presentation.
Thank you. That was fascinating. I can't believe how much it's changed since I used to commute through there. That's really nice to go. I'm going to start with a fairly straightforward one. Can you give us a definition of what a tiger crossing is? Because whilst I could see on the picture, it looked like a side-by-side one. What are the features that make a tiger crossing a tiger crossing?
So it is side by side. So
Yeah.
obviously a toucan crossing is where both pedestrians and cyclists use the same space, so they're both allowed. And a tiger crossing means that there is a separate crossing for both pedestrians as well as cyclists, so they can retain that element of segregation and continue their journey. That's why there's sort of the segregation either side of it as well.
Brilliant. Thank you. All these definitions. I get lost in amongst all the animals that we name our crossings after. And also, whilst we're doing definitions, Trevor has asked about a Copenhagen-style crossing, which I have to confess I didn't know either.
Yes, there is a Copenhagen crossing, and that will be in phase 3 at the junction of Somers Road and Aldwell Street.
So what is a Copenhagen-style crossing?
Now you're testing. I imagine, although I will confirm with Andy, that if it's a Copenhagen crossing, it'll be a continuous raised table across the junction of Aldwell Street, so that there is no drop down, so that obviously pedestrians get priority, or cyclists, so that there is no drop down in order to be able, so that they can continue their journey.
Brilliant. Thank you. So does that, when these developments are in place, so once phase 4 is done, where does the corridor start and finish?
So once everything's done, the corridor will start on Goldsmith Avenue, which is obviously further to
Yeah.
the east. And at the moment, that the boundary of that is the junction of Frensham Road, um, partly because there literally is the road space there without a significant change to who has priority on the road, which politically can be a difficult conversation to have. I think, all of us who work within this area are probably familiar with those kind of conversations. So at the moment, it starts at Frensham Road and then travels all the way to the hard interchange, with a mixture, as you've seen, on road and off road, segregated wherever possible, or shared facilities. As I said, we're in the feasibility stage for the part up from the Isambard. So forgive me if you're not
Yeah.
familiar with Portsmouth at
Yeah.
all, but basically where the Portsmouth main police station is, although it's sort of not open to the public anymore, there is a roundabout, and then that goes around the gyratory where quite a number of the university buildings are situated, and then down towards the hard interchange. So that will be the phase that we are looking at through feasibility studies to understand what we could design there next.
I'm just making sure that no, it's just gifts from Ray. And is this the only place in Portsmouth you've got that vivacity monitoring, or are you doing that in other places as well?
No, there is a couple of sites in the north of the city. So coming down towards Cosham on London Road. So as you come down from Widley towards Cosham and the Spur Road roundabout, there's also one being installed on the Mountbatten Path, the coastal path that runs round past the Mountbatten Centre towards Hillsey Lines, because that's our most frequently used path. And then there will, so I can't say what it is yet because the budget hasn't come out. So the budget is coming out, being hopefully approved as is in the full council meeting on the 13th of February. But there will be some others going into a major project that we hope to still have funding for, unless political shenanigans have overtaken us, in next year's budget.
Brilliant. Final question from me. Obviously, we have a number of workplaces in and around the Portsmouth area, and the people here are all sustainable travel people.
Mm-hmm.
If they want to lend their support to developments in the future, what's the best way that they can do that?
So are these regular meetings?
These are regular meetings, so that, well, I'll come back to that in a minute. But yeah, so the next meeting we've got is in April, where we'll get back together like this. But if there is a way that workplaces from Portsmouth can get in touch with the council, I am totally putting you on the spot here. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, in the most
Yeah.
sort of broad sense, please
Yeah.
do feel free to email travel@portsmouthcc.gov.uk. I know that also my colleagues, engagement officers that have, we are working with Future Transport, so Solent Transport, regarding like the Breeze app. So we will be going out to businesses to engage with them. This is all future upcoming work, so unfortunately I can't give timescales because it won't be me. But going out to local businesses to promote the Breeze app, so there will be an opportunity to talk to people from the council there to give suggestions and support. You can email travel@portsmouthcc.gov.uk, and I'm sure that if there is updates or you would like further updates, then a colleague will be able to come on to these briefings that in the future to provide updates.
Brilliant. Thank you. Right, I'm going to stop now. You are free to go. Thank you so much for coming out today. Good luck on the island.